Your excuses sound smart, but they're ruining your life. Your excuses sound reasonable. They sound logical. They sound responsible, but only to you. Inside your head, every delay has a story. Every missed opportunity has a justification. Every unfinished goal has a reason that feels valid in the moment. You're tired. You're busy. The timing isn't right. You'll start tomorrow. You'll fix it later. You just need a bit more clarity first. And none of it sounds crazy until you step outside your own mind. Because the truth is uncomfortable, excuses don't need to be true to be convincing. They only need to feel safe. And your brain is very good at protecting you from discomfort. That's how most people stay stuck without realizing it. They're not lazy. They're not incapable. They're not unmotivated. They're just constantly negotiating with themselves and losing. Your brain is a defense lawyer, not a truth teller. Its job isn't to push you forward. Its job is to keep you comfortable, predictable, and safe. So when action threatens that comfort, your mind starts talking, not screaming, not panicking, just whispering. Now isn't the best time. You've already done a lot today. You'll do it properly when you're more prepared. And because the voice sounds calm and rational, you trust it. But comfort is persuasive, not correct. Every excuse sounds smart when you're the one explaining it. You know your context. You know your struggles. You know your intentions. From the inside, it always feels justified. From the outside, it just looks like hesitation. Think about how many plans you've postponed not because you couldn't act, but because acting felt slightly uncomfortable, slightly uncertain, slightly inconvenient. That's where most lives stall. Not at the edge of impossibility, but at the edge of discomfort. The most dangerous excuses are the reasonable ones, the ones that don't sound like fear, the ones that sound like maturity, patience, or responsibility. I'm being realistic. I'm waiting for the right moment. I just want to do it right. But realism becomes a cage when it replaces movement. Perfection becomes a delay tactic when it replaces effort. And patience becomes procrastination when it never ends. Excuses are rarely dramatic. They don't announce themselves. They blend into your daily thinking until they feel like common sense. And the longer you listen to them, the more convincing they become. Here's the part people don't like to hear. Your excuses don't need to fool anyone else. They only need to convince you long enough to avoid action today. Tomorrow is irrelevant. Next week doesn't matter. All excuses live in the present moment. They say, not now. And if not now keeps repeating, someday quietly disappears. You don't wake up one day and decide to give up on your potential. You just keep choosing comfort in small moments. You keep agreeing with the voice that says, later. You keep telling yourself that you're still moving forward, even when nothing changes. Progress feels uncomfortable. That's not a flaw. That's the signal. If your life feels too easy to justify, too smooth to challenge, too safe to question, it's probably being managed by excuses instead of intention. Look closely at your inner dialogue. Notice how polite your excuses are, how reasonable, how well phrased. They don't sound like lies, they sound like explanations. But explanations don't build lives. Actions do. Nobody outside your head hears the reasons you didn't start. Nobody benefits from the plans you almost followed through on. Results don't care how convincing your excuses were. They only respond to what you actually did. And this isn't about being harsh with yourself. It's about being honest. Honest enough to admit that sometimes you don't need more information. You don't need more confidence. You don't need more motivation. You need to stop debating with a voice that's designed to keep things the same. Because the more you argue with your excuses, the more power you give them. Every negotiation reinforces the idea that action requires permission. That comfort must be consulted. That fear deserves a seat at the table. It doesn't. Action doesn't need a perfect mindset. It needs a decision, a small one, an uncomfortable one you don't fully feel ready for. That's how momentum begins, not when doubt disappears, but when you move anyway. People who grow aren't more disciplined by nature. They're just quicker to recognize excuses for what they are. They don't spend hours justifying delay. They interrupt the pattern early. They notice the thought. They don't argue with it. They act before it settles in. That's the difference. Excuses feel powerful because they speak in your voice. They sound like you. They use your language, your experiences, your past failures as evidence. But they're not you. They're habits of thought, and habits can be broken. The moment you stop treating excuses as guidance and start treating them as noise, everything shifts. You stop asking, do I feel ready? And start asking, what's the smallest action I can take right now? Not tomorrow. Not perfectly. Right now. Small action beats perfect intention every time. Your future doesn't need you to be fearless. It needs you to be honest. Honest about how often comfort disguises itself as logic. Honest about how much potential gets delayed, not destroyed, by excuses. Nothing changes until the conversation in your head changes. And the most powerful sentence you can practice saying to yourself is simple. This excuse makes sense, but I'm acting anyway. That's how control returns. Not through motivation, but through clarity. Not through force, but through consistency. Your excuses will always sound best to you. That's why you can't rely on how they feel. You have to judge them by where they lead. If they lead to stagnation, they're not wisdom. If they lead to delay, they're not protection. If they keep you the same, they're not truth. They're comfort talking. And comfort has never built the life you actually want. So the next time your mind starts explaining why now isn't the time, don't argue. Don't analyze. Don't negotiate. Move, even a little, especially then. If this hit harder than you expected, like the video, subscribe, and write a comment telling me which excuse you're done listening to.